is the ban. Again, AL love to play around with that Poppy. Tarzan is an absolute monster on it, but Kael also loves to play it too. See what the final focus is going to be for AL here, though.
Okay,
Pantheon, right? It has to be. You do not give Pantheon to Tian.
We've been seeing Pantheon get let through, and looks like that's going to be the case once again. I mean, in the highlight package that I showed us earlier, Tian did send it a couple of times on the Pantheon, but we may yet see him get his hands on this one. I like to think that this is what he gets. It probably gives Trundle over to Tarzan as well as that sort of response. And then if AL look for a potential mid lane pickup, they can go for the Ori, not the Ori, that's banned away, so Talia and Azir both off the board, but Weibo take away the Trundle themselves. They're giving Pantheon to Tarzan if he wants it.
That's crazy. That is crazy work. There's no way. I mean, I will give it to it. I think the Trundle does end up providing a lot of skirmishing power in that regard, but Tarzan destroys games on this pick, and he now has the Aurora there, a little bit of flexibility with that on AL's side. I think AL are looking pretty confident in game number 2.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at the power that the Pantheon has, I mean, late game, I think that he's one of the few junglers that at that 3-item marker still poses an actual genuine threat to backline. I think the Xin Zhao, you know, one of these picks that just creates space, doesn't really create as much damage necessarily or pose as much of a threat. So we'll see what it is that Weibo can answer this Pantheon with. Already locking in something versus the Aurora in the Victor for Xiaohu. Again, this is a pick that I think that he does so incredibly well on. Maybe one of his best picks for split number 3. And if they can get him to the late game, once again, this is looking good for Weibo, but it's about if they can get there or if Pantheon and the rest of AL are able to push that tempo really early on.
That's the question. That's always going to be the question in these kinds of situations. So Weibo, they definitely look like they're opting into that late game scaling. They're going to have the Trundle here for some skirmishing in the in-betweens, but they are going for more of that time bot in the game. And you mentioned it last game. I love to see AL testing out the waters of these early game compositions, right? Like it's something they have obviously opted into in the past, and we saw some of that in their run, especially at MSI, but they are going all pedal to the metal here, especially with the Renekton locked into the Yorick.
We are seeing this Renekton rise as an answer to the Yorick, using your W to counter the Yorick W, as every strike, if it's base W for Renekton, counts as 2 auto attacks. If it's empowered, counts as 3. So you can very easily get your way out of that cage if you are caught in trouble. And now we're looking down at these bot sides. What identities have the teams drafted for themselves? Already AL have got, again, a very big 1-item turn on. They spike incredibly hard when those first items do get hit. For Weibo, we're looking at scaling. We've got the Victor for a reason. We've got the Yorick to try and keep that side lane in check, and now it's all about what Weibo can do to keep this game going long. Think Sivir. Look at how easy it is for her to try and clear out these compositions, and the extra mobility that she can provide is going to be really useful. Equally, as AL, you'd like to think that with the Sivir in their back pocket, they can push the pace of this game, get Renekton into positions, get Tarzan into positions as well that are a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big conversation there as we go forward. The at least ban towards this supporter pool will continue, as that Braum is going to be banned away. Do wonder if anything else kind of comes through here for Weibo's mind, or if they want to maybe take off one more AD carry in that matchup to see. But the bot lane's coming in last. AL is going to definitely keep that counter pick there for Kael.
Lucian, one of the high priority picks, right, that we've already discussed a little bit, and I think that fits quite nicely with AL and their composition in terms of getting that ball rolling early on. And I mean, this has actually come to bear quite frequently as well, is that this AD counter pick, not necessarily to counter the bot lane, but to really see fleshed out what the rest of this composition from Weibo is going to do. But more importantly, I think that this just gives first dibs to Kael in terms of those high priority support picks. With Braum and Renata taken off the board, we know that we're going to see some engage from AL, and it's just a question of which one of those he wanted to go for. He dings up the Alistair. I think it's maybe the best champion that we have in that support role for the engaging purposes, so no surprises that that one is taken for Kael here.
I was hovering, or liking the hover over the Rel, but it is going to be the Alistar. Immediately locked in is going to be that Sivir, and I'm sure the Rel, kind of that next priority right there behind it, as the Sivir is going to be a great unlocking factor for Light. But again, we are getting a holistic kind of late game composition from Weibo.
Yeah, it's a comp that wants to go late. It's a comp that doesn't want to fight in these early stages. We're thinking 3 items Victor, 3 items Sivir. and then reliant very heavily on Breathe and Tian to be able to bridge them through this early game, because at the minute AL are thinking, okay, well, as soon as I have my first recall, I want to fight you, and if they give them that opportunity like they did in game number 1, Weibo are going to struggle. AL here with a different bit of a pick. I think that they could look for a Lucian, could look for something that, again, gives them an opportunity to play this early game out, but instead they opt into the Senna, which is a little bit of a detraction from the rest of their composition. It does give them some hyper late game scaling if they really look to get there, but it will help out on their top side as well. So, you know, the Dawning Shadow has its power. I'm just not sold on it in its 2 versus 2 capability here.
And we are absolutely, I mean, Hope will still be strong. There's some carry potential there depending on where resources go, but we are definitely shifting our focus to this kind of top trio here between AL and figuring out how much of an advantage they can get early and often in this game number 2.
I mean, with Renekton at the back, with Pantheon on the shoulders as well, you have to think that any form of dive is going to be really easy to find, whether they can move the Renekton into the mid lane, whether they can just use Pantheon to dive top over and over and over again. Again, with an Alistar roam, we've seen Kael be very frequently mobile on the map. There's lots of tools open to this Anyone's Legend composition to try and push the pace of this game. Whether they can or can't do that, though, we'll have to wait and see. And I mean, they executed on it in game number 1. We don't have the reasons to expect that they can't. It's just whether that actually happens or not.
Yeah, and I think jungle is still going to be an important piece of the puzzle here in this game number 2, especially with the picks that they have. And I think Prio is going to be super important. Although I feel like there's going to be more support for Tarzan to start it off.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, the Alistar has the run of things through the matchup versus the Rel. The Aurora going to get pushed. The Renekton you would expect to get pushed. I do think that, in fairness, Sivir heavily outpushes pretty much every AD carry, but definitely Senna. So that bot lane maybe is a little bit of a detraction. We might end up seeing a heavy play toward this top side by AL. And I do think that Senna Alistar, as a duo, actually really good at self-sustaining as well. With the passive heals from Alistar, with the Qs from Senna, they can actually play this war of attrition really well.
All right, well, game 2 kicking off now in our first series of the night. Weibo versus AL. Now they're awake. I wonder who these people are. If anybody knows who they are, at me on Twitter. Or tell somebody in the chat, and then maybe they'll tell us in Discord. What I really want to ask about, though, is this jungle matchup. Because I know we talked about the help they get, but just in the sheer one-on-one, I do feel like Tian has some skirmishing potential. Oh, Breathe. I think you might have taken a couple steps too far forward. He's also using AL's power against them with the panda skin on the Yorick. But does Tian have an opportunity to be more of that style we like from Tian, where he goes for invades, where he goes for kind of unique paths on this Trundle? Or is he just sitting back and waiting?
I hope they split the map for really both sides, because Weibo have got a really strong bot lane 2 versus 2, not so much the rest of the map, where AL have got a really strong top side with this Aurora that you'd like to think will be able to push in the Victor just before that laser upgrade comes through, and then that means you can allow Tian access to this blue side quadrant that AL have, and hopefully that is a way for them to at least give Tian some sort of leverage. But I'm kind of curious to see what happens with those junglers. Are we seeing a split? Are we going to see some vertical junglering and some sort of islanding of these two squads?
Still think it's crazy work to give Tarzan Pantheon on red side, but we'll see what that pays out to be, I guess, in the end. And see what this early game pans out for both these teams. Because I think if you look at the history for both teams, and I know you're very strongly worded about where you think Weibo sit in the tier of things right now. Weibo placed 7th last regular season, and you know they got in through the playoff play-in. They went the hard route, and they still made it through to the playoffs. AL obviously were sitting pretty. They placed 2nd in regular season. They won the split, so that feels really good. But this is a Weibo team that has been here before, and it's kind of what we foreshadowed to before the series even kicked off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you do have to remember that this Weibo organization is one that thrives when they're down in the dirt and when things are a little bit scrappy, a little bit messy. So a loss here doesn't necessarily signify really anything about how good or bad their season may yet still be. We'll have to keep track on whether or not it's a possibility for them to make a tracking or a good run through that play-ins and play-offs, because expectation is they're going to have to go through the play-ins at this stage. I want to take a quick check, though, quick pit stop at these early game moves on the map. Light, 3-wave crashes, goes down to base, grabs a call, moves up to this top side alongside Tian.
Oh, Flandre just overplayed his hand here himself. He's going to get pillared. He waited. Tian perfectly do it, but he gets in the way of the slice and dice. He gave him the exit strategy, but luckily gets followed up on there. Tian does get first blood for Weibo.
And double flashes expended. Light and Tian both go for the flash play. And it's just Crisp catching this experience. Breathe will teleport down here, so it means that some of that XP is going to be collected, but there is a good amount that's being missed. I think the play was that Breathe would have recalled and caught the majority of that wave. Instead, not all of it. And now Light with no flash, level 2, Wolfing level 3. Going to be in the face of a Renekton and a Pantheon under that turret. Flandre just doing a quick trade here to try and force off Light. But we're waiting to
Crisp
see.
is running, but he is
W.
not nearly going to be able to make it in time. This is such a tough position to be in by Light. He's going to try to tank as much as he can. He's going to try to get the wave as low as he can, but he's just going to give the solo bolo to Flandre.
I mean, he's tanking the whole wave as well, and he catches the majority of it. I think he misses 4 or 5 creeps of ranged experience on that top side. And that does feel pretty rough for the Sivir. With no flash there, you really don't have any outplay potential whatsoever. And it's really difficult as well to try and spell shield any of those spells from the Renekton. They're all, apart from the E, instant.
AL just overextending in multiple waves now. As AL look like they might not get punished too heavily. Weibo are desperate for this one. I mean, they are so overextended right now. He's just diving for it. Tian is going for the fight on Tarzan now. Tarzan's left by himself. Flandre went the long way around, so they don't really have teammates here. Slice and dice coming through with the crash downs there. Flandre gets the Q spin, gets the heal back, and look at Flandre tanking up so much here. He might get ran down in the end, but he's going into the bush. He should be fine. Mount up comes through for Crisp. Crisp shattering strike, flash play as Xiaohu gets the kill, and it's 2 for 2 early.
Yeah, the slice in was good. The dice back in again. Not so good from Flandre, as he definitely killed himself to try and find a little bit extra on that play. I think they weren't quite expecting Light to be present in that instance, and this whole time, Hope is just casually farming up. It's worth saying that Breathe as well, not really lost for experience. He's able to walk in and grab the XP, maybe not so the gold. And we'll see who's going to end up coming out on top in this situation, because it looks like currently both side lanes for AL are doing really well, despite the fact that there have been instances where they've been a little overextended, and in fairness, where we've seen Tian actually make some pretty aggressive and pretty successful plays.
Yeah, it feels like he's going to be the bridge at this point to get this team into that scaling promised land. As not as much focus as maybe as expected towards the Dragon early down here. We still have about 1:45 till the grubs spawn on the top side of the map. We have decided to keep these lane setups and really have these bot lanes play away from each other. How do we feel about that?
I think this is better for AL. I think that the Sivir is probably just going to push in the Senna time and time again. And this just gives over a little bit of freedom to the AL bot lane to decide what they want to do with the wave. That being said, Aurora's not punishing the Sivir, right? Like, there's no punish coming through onto Light to stop him from being able to freely farm, freely scale, and get into a great spot.
The Maiden's going to be doing work into Kael here. Some souls going over to Hope, though. They do have a decent amount of damage early. The headbutt, or at least pulverize, is going to be there. Flandre coming over to see if they can finish the job. He does have his Dominus up. The only thing I'm seeing that's coming out of this, though, is that Hope is monstrously ahead in CS over Light. Light will catch up. He's Sivir. He always has the chance to, but that's the big outcome, I feel like, right now that we've seen from the lane swaps.
Yeah, and a large amount of gold as well for Flandre by nature of those 2 kills. He's also going to get a decent XP lead as well, as this Yorick misses out. Oh, I thought that they would have liked to dive the Yorick here and make Breathe miss out, so we can cancel that. But I think that this Yorick being able to stay under the turret, a little bit illegal for me. I mean, it maybe sacrifices too much tempo for AL, and they, don't want to do that just yet. See Tarzan starting up the red buff. Both of our junglers here are level 6, and Tian is going to know that this is available. Spellbook TP back into the mid lane from Crisp means he's able to come to this play a little bit faster than maybe AL would have anticipated.
And Tarzan popped the control ward, realizing they can take this space. They can go ahead and keep going for this invade. And it's a little bit later than I expected for the invades to really be prominent, but it is going to be there nonetheless. Red buff stolen away by Tarzan. And that might just be a little bit of early signaling of what AL want to try to do this game.
yeah, we talked about the fact that the Sivir will get pushed versus the Senna. However, you talked about that experience and that CS lead, Mazel. That's the leading reason why AL are able to constantly push this in. Q Smite.
Oh, man.
Tarzan, he doesn't even use Smite here.
Oh, and he steals away the chicken at the last second. Weibo just stand there and watch as their whole jungle camp gets taken out. Flandre, he doesn't have the W. He ends up trying to get away. Does have the Q back. Getting hit by that maiden does hurt after a long while. Looks like AL might have the presence and the power to take these grubs.
Look at that bot side as well. Breathe goes into the river, picks up some honey fruit. He's going to try and sort of buy himself a bit of time to catch up and trade back versus Flandre a little bit later. I was expecting maybe a move into this mid lane to help out for a potential contest on these grubs, but it's not the case. It's another instance of AL using their early game priority to secure objectives. The first 3 grubs go their way. Still a dragon live, so that Infernal Drake is still up for both of these teams to try and fight for. Only vision so far is a single ward in the pit for Weibo.
See if that 3 grubs comes back to be the difference. You know what else could be the difference is ProDiff.gg. Go get one-on-one coaching and improve your game. You can use LPL 10 to save 10% on ProDiff. Get one-on-one coaching from former and current LTA, NACL, and ERL players. Pretty cool. You get to send them your footage. They'll sit with you, talk through it, exactly what you need to do different in those situations. You can take that knowledge into your own games. Go check out ProDiff.gg. Should be some links in the chat as well.
And it looks like for the time being, AL the ones that are slowly making their way through this early game with that slight advantage. As we're seeing Breathe getting TP'd on here. Probably absolutely fine to walk this out, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he should be all right.
Okay. Flashes away from the Between Worlds.
Rightfully so, are going to leave the Panda because that's their own people. So, you know, that's fine.
But again, if we leave Breathe for too long, he will just destroy a side lane. Maybe not the...
He will.
Totally wisest play. Let's hope that they can take something in response. As actually TP down to the bot side there by Shanks. He was going into a 1 versus 3, but he still got Starfall from Tarzan. Means that he can join that fight quite quickly. And now a teleport matched by Xiaohu as he comes back out onto the map with that completed Rod of Ages. So 20 minutes in, and he's going to have that 10 stacks. Not the slowest Rod of Ages that we've seen by any means.
Not going to be too bad. It's definitely a favorite of his today. He tried to go it in the first game, didn't work out for him. Goes for it in the second game. It works maybe for him on this pick that looks to be scaling further on. As Hope does end up connecting. Slight has to be forced off of his back in the end. But first items also coming up for a couple members of AL. I think Hope will be a little bit delayed after going for those Swifties early, but the Sundered Sky for Tarzan really enables his skirmishing. Yeah,
and I think that for the Pantheon in particular, we're looking for that first ultimate. Let's see. You know, maybe you can burn a flash. Maybe you can actually just find a quick kill. Let's use Flandre. Let's use that early power that the Renekton has to try and make a play onto somebody from Weibo. We can see a slight level lead here for Breathe in that top side, but Flandre's not super far behind on experience. We'll be able to ding over to level 9. I do think that Pantheon Renekton duo can be very lethal. Breathe now with no flash in that top lane, certainly susceptible to going down. I want to highlight the early Bramble Vest being picked up by the Yorick, just to make sure that this Renekton isn't completely dumpstering him, but it is obviously slowing him down as well.
Well, we're going to see some adaptations here on the map. I love it because Kael and Crisp, they are to their natural stations of looking for anything in between, trying to help anybody on the map they possibly can. I need to see Weibo try to get this 30 CS differential in mid lane under wraps. Here comes the Grand Starfall on the bot side. It's going to be AL focusing onto this play, onto Xiaohu. He's going to flash out, but there's too much damage. The Dawning Shadow with the snipe from across the map.
And it's just too easy for AL. So much CC in these two duo members of Tarzan and Kael. Once again, just linking up to make a play happen. This probably means that they can take this tier 1 turret, although a teleport from Breathe is actually coming through to defend it. Maybe the Dragon then, the prize for anyone's legend, as that objective has gone notably by the wayside through this early game.
Yeah, should be the case. I mean, that's, 13 minutes in, and they're not even going to start it up. So Dragon is not going to be the scaling objective here, and I'm surprised AL didn't want to go for something like that, especially with their compositional strengths. But now that we have Yuntal's completed for the light, he's going to be stacking that up. Dragon's going to actually be started up by Weibo in the end, and no contest coming through, so this will be their first neutral objective.
Okay, and I think that this is really, really good for Weibo to once again deny any of that stacking, deny the push into the late game. Is a very powerful tool that Weibo can use. A reminder, their composition has Victor and Decisive, two champions that are very happy to go late, very happy for this game to peter into a 30-40 minute slobber knocker, as that possibility is slowly getting higher and higher. With AL just barely starting to push the pace of the game here. They used Grand Starfall to take down the Victor down on the bot side, and you know, they hesitated when taking neutral objectives, but they have been quite vocal and I'll say quite happy to try and take jungle camps away.
Yeah, they have been, and I kind of like that angle from it. We get the Chaos Storm pumped in top side. Between Worlds going to be up soon by Shanks. Little side fact is Hope is already sitting almost at 40 souls here at 14 minutes in. Obviously a little bit of differentiation on how those souls stack compared to other things that we've seen stacking, but that's not too shabby, I feel like, and that's some of that scaling that AL are relying on. And for your opinion here, at least, does it feel like AL are kind of taking like a more reserved approach? Like they feel okay to have some scaling going for it? Because on paper, I feel like we set it out that they really need to be proactive.
I think that they still are being proactive. They are just doing a lot of due diligence for all of their plays, where that they're getting laning advantages by having this Aurora be just slightly ahead, and the Senna constantly able to look at roaming as well. I feel like they're just making sure that they're not giving anything over, because the second that they lose out on a play is the second that a Victor and a Civi get ahead. That is game losing in a nutshell. So you really want to make sure that no matter what it is that you do it right. And I think that, you know, AL, they're still trying to push the pace of this game, but it's a question of whether or not they're going to do it, because we had this concern in game number 1. Are they going to push the pace of the game fast enough? As it was Weibo that ended up sort of giving them the game more than anything else.
True. And Tian's feeling pretty confident now that he's got his Trinity Force completed. And the fighting power between him and Tarzan, but definitely feels like that side of the map is going to be the next contested side, as Rift Herald is up and available. Going to get some late vision put in there by Crisp. And actually, we're going to see Tarzan opt to go ahead and clear away from it. We're going to get the all in here, I guess, from Flandre. He's flashing after him with the Grand Starfall coming in, and easy as that. Tarzan makes the roam, finds the kill, and that's going to be AL now looking back to that Rift Herald play.
Yeah, and just looking at the way that the positioning on the maps are, there's no Rift Herald's play that Weibo can look to make. Hope and Kael constantly have prio, but Kael going to be probably forced to flash here.
Oh, yeah, Kael a little bit caught out. Going to have to pop everything. Doesn't actually pop the flash. Does keep that after using the exhaust, though, but he'll immediately spellbook out of that into the heal. It's going to feel pretty good. And the turret and bot side is going to go down as well, and that's first turret and feats yet again for anyone's legend. 2 games in a row.
And the Senna with Static Shiv able to match the push now of this Sivir, so there's never really a threat onto that mid-tier 1. Now, AL may lose out on this Rift Herald, and I don't think they're too worried about that. Once again, look at where Tarzan is on the map. He's constantly looking to take away these Raptors, looking to deny camps from Tian on this bot side. And I will highlight quickly that Light here doing very well in this game, despite the fact that he was down 30 CS. He's got himself a really good stake in this game at the minute with those Yuntal, working his way straight towards an Infinity Edge. So it is a very greedy spike for him to go at that second item.
Dave, you deserve to die for that one. It's just backing in the middle of the enemy jungle. Not even in a bush?
Well, sometimes you win some, sometimes you chuck them to the enemy. And that was certainly a latter. One of the latters, I should say, for Kael. He had flash available, but instead just sort of resigned himself to his own fate there, knowing that he made a bit of an
Tarzan going for the flash plan to Light, or at least trying to get out with that one. Does end up using it defensively. Now he has no tools to get away from Tian, and this is where the chomp comes really alive. The setup is there on the Tarzan, and he just gets taken down in the end with a last little ricochet shot from Light. Maybe a couple picks by Weibo to get them back into this game.
Hey, don't sell AL short. They weren't picks by Weibo, they were throws from AL, right? Like, there's no way that my Pantheon is Wing.
There has to be a catcher, all right? There has to be a catcher.
True. That's true, but I do want to again advocate for the fact that this was AL just tossing it very slowly, underarm, from 2 centimeters.
It's T-ball.
You know?
It's T-ball. T-ball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, either way.
Can go in super speed now.
What is that?
The between worlds.
So people normally use the between worlds away from them so that they can quickly backstep so that they can use it as an escape. Shanks just ulted the turret.
Hey, you know.
Let's focus. AL focus.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
Focus.
Exactly. It's fine. You just splash a little bit of water on your face. Don't worry about the electrical headset on your head. Just get back into the game. But no, I mean, the thing is, we got to focus on for Weibos. They can use these kinds of flubs. They can use these kinds of moments because they have hit their first item spikes. Again, getting closer to that second one. But they also have the Rift Herald in tow here for Tian.
And hopefully they can look to use that a little bit better than they did in game number 1. Granted, there's no bard this time to ruin their efforts. But anyone's legend looking like a well-oiled machine down toward this bot side as they look to try and take their first dragon of the game. Cloud Drake going to be taken, and does mean that we're going to get ourselves a freshly minted Ocean Soul, probably like 35, 40 minutes into this game, if we get that far.
Could you imagine the wonderful road to get to that point? How glorious it would be.
Senna Sivir, it's possible, buddy. It's very possible. These two are very good at stalling.
Yeah, true. 50 seconds till that Atacon spawns. It'll be on the top side, so nowhere near where these teams are contesting. But this has been AL constantly through this game, too, just pushing and invading into Weibo's jungle. Maiden will be popped here, try to get some damage down, try to be a buffer for Weibo. They still want to hold on, though. Again, 2-3 items is their spike, and they're just trying to defend as much as they can against AL.
Yeah, and again, we talked about the fact that this Weibo composition loves scaling. It's going to be very happy as we get later and later into this game. And for anyone's legend, the only real super scaling that they've got comes from Hope. And this is probably more one of the weakest parts of Senna that you're ever going to find, where your static shiv rapid fire cannon, we don't yet have an infinity edge being built up. I do think that this is probably the point in the game where Senna maybe just throws peanuts at people and tries to hope that it sticks, whereas this Sivir, as soon as that infinity edge is picked up, will actually start to hurt quite considerably.
Yeah, and that's why I really liked the Black Cleaver second for Senna. Not going to be that option this time around, just going for that range. As Tian gets engaged on by AL. TP's coming in. Xiaohu getting caught a little bit. The weirding's going to slow him down, but it's not enough damage. I wonder if all of this is ahead of AL trying to start up the Atacon. They bring all 5 members up to the top side.
Yeah, Flandre TP's up. Give that wall a good little headbutt for good measure. And yeah, AL, they need to do their due diligence, right? Let's push out this midway first. Let's catch that. Make sure that they can move up to this Herald in short order. And that's going to be the case. It looks like pings from Breathe are that he wants to take this turret. He has got teleport to get up to this top side if they want to contest, but Weibo so far not in a position to do so.
Crisp is playing it right now. Tian's going to have to take his Grom, so looks like it will just be the trade in the end from Weibo. Not going to go contest this Atacon, and that's the second permanent buff that they've given over to anyone's legend. They're going to try to make a counterplay here in mid, but TP's coming immediately out to defend it. Rift Herald play as now Kael gets caught by Weibo. They're trying to get a 3-man Magnet Storm, get 2 of them. Breathe is in the fight now. Dawning Shadow coming across, and Xiaohu's already down. That's a major point of your damage. Light has been eviscerated here on the side. Flandre's trying to run him down. The flash play with the Q. He's strutting his stuff. The Croc's got teeth.
And they just abandon their carries. Weibo, they commit so heavily onto the front line of anyone's legend. There is no protection for Xiaohu or Light. They both get ripped to shreds by the Crocodile. And in a play to attempt to take that tier 1 turret, Weibo flounder once again, and it's anyone's legend who profit.
That is every ADC's worst nightmare. You look up, and your team is so far away from you, and there's a giant man croc standing between you and them. Yeah, that's going to feel really bad because it feels like both the carries just got literally like evicted from their team here. And
they knew Flandre's here. There's a ward on the top side of this wall. But look at what Weibo are focusing. They're going onto the Alistair with ult for you know, the chance at taking down the cow. Getting some good staking may be great, but it's just not the target that you should be going for. It's not the focus of this fight, and it really does suck to see that, you know, Weibo once again, they've got maybe a good timer to fight, a good angle to look for it. It's just completely misexecuted.
And you just look at the trajectory for these teams. They are vastly different. AL, this would be a 5th win in a row as they crest over to that second round robin, finishing in just 4 more games, right? That would be half of the second round robin games going dominantly their way. Whereas Weibo, they've struggled time and time again to really keep their head above water if they want to be in that top 4 conversation. And at this point, they still have a lot of games, obviously 4 left just like them. But it has been hard to see kind of put together in this AL team. Now you're just wondering what the sky is the limit, at least, as Flandre might have just cast or cursed him in a 1v3. He's going to try to take him down, 1v4 rather, as he gets the slice of dice out. He's going to try. Downing Shadow coming across. He might get one back. He's healing so damn much, but it's not going to be enough. Now AL coming to punish after. Kael coming over. They're low health bars here. Anyone's Legend could take this one. Tarzan going to block out a ton of the damage. Take down Chris. Goes over. Gets the Sundered Sky. Gets the healing. The Maiden is doing some work now to Kael. He gets the hit pulverize in, but nobody else is coming to save AL. They need to try to get out of this one. Tarzan turning back around. Goes for breathe. Goes for the execute. Doesn't have the damage there. Gets locked down. Kael coming over to help him. Hope tried to get the heal there through Kael, but won't find it. They lost a tier 2 for all of this. And is it going to be enough for Weibo? They're down almost 5,000 gold.
And they're probably going to lose out on the Dragon here, anyone's Legend. I mean, they lost out on 2 members for a almost lose out on 1 member on the top side by Weibo. They are able to all stay alive, which is important, and I think that this gives them that Dragon. But Soul this game, Mazel, is really not a factor that we need to be considering. This is gold going into the pockets of the Aurora and gold going into the pockets of the Senna. 2 parts of this AL composition that so far have been relatively quiet, but that for anyone's Legend as an organization and as a team, Hope and Shanks have been really solid parts of this team for at least this split as well. And you can see that actually it was a good effort from Weibo to try and find something on the top side, but the fact that Light gets so chunked out early on means that the opportunity to aggress is just really thwarted.
It is tough. We are in that second item spike, though, for 3 members of Weibo, as Dragon is going to be started up by anyone's Legend, by nowhere, anywhere close to the Soul, so they should be okay giving this one over. The Ocean Dragons will start stacking up, though, for AL. They'll have their second now, and they themselves are looking at halfway to 3rd item, at least, for Shanks. It's more so that scaling on this Senna, who's, I believe, if I can read that, at 70 stacks now.
Yeah,
when things
71
can really start getting a little out of hand.
Yeah, and I mean, I will call out quickly, you know, we highlighted these 2 players to start off the show, that neither one of these junglers really feels like the reason that anything's going wrong necessarily, but I want to, you know, highlight that maybe Tian, the brightest part of this Weibo composition in this game in particular, has been relatively active, has been relatively mobile, trying to make things work. And for Kanavi, actually, those quick picks onto Light and using this Pantheon to really great effect in these fights, constantly buying time, constantly shielding his team, he's doing a really good job.
Yeah. And I can see now, you know, they went with the Black Cleaver second build for Tarzan now, so that might be why they didn't end up going for the Black Cleaver build for the Senna. End up going for the Mortal Reminder now as well for some heal cut potential onto Tian on the other side, as well as Breathe. That's going to feel really good, and I'm starting to see why AL were kind of comfortable going with this hybrid comp, if you will. A composition that can succeed in the early game, but has some things to fall back on, because if you find yourself ahead, then all those things works out for you, right? The composition just seemingly slots in perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, the Senna gets to the late game that little bit faster, and every single skirmish that we find is, you know, 5-6 Senna souls that get picked up, which is just, again, pacing, increasing the pace at which she generates that advantage, generates that range, and gets to that point of being unkillable just because she's so far away from anybody as you look to deal damage out. And, you know, the rapid fire cannon on top of that, it is really difficult to try and get damage onto Hope. Look how far he can auto attack people from, as Crisp is trying to get away in, but
Tian, you might be tanky. You ain't that tanky, bud. He's going to use the subjugation there in the end. Try to get some of his health back there. You'll heal decently well. Shanks is already getting a push in that top side as well. Breathe had moved up. They get the counterbalance from Flandre in the bot side, who does have TP available to him. But in these in-betweens, I mean, I think this does still, in some regard, favor Weibo to kind of just hold on to the game.
If nothing happens, then yes, but if Tian gets caught out, I mean, this is a palpable advantage. The fact that the Trundle doesn't have Subjugate means that he can't really walk in and be a frontline, and it's maybe not a big thing, but it might be just the thing that AL are looking for. It's also one of those things that we've seen so frequently from Tian in particular as well, just the fact that he steps a little too far forward, either loses a flash, loses an ultimate, loses something, that inspires something from his enemies.
Can he keep the consistency? Can he bring back all the energy that he brings to the table with this jungle role? I think he's a legend of the game for a reason. He's a world champion for a reason. It's all those years ago, but want to see that premier form from Tian. The Baron's already started up. No vision there. Kael goes for the play fight. He ends up catching in Chris. Chris panic magnet storms and is already down. Flandre popped the Dominus on the side just to keep pressure, but without Chris, without this Rel, you have no engage. It's literally Tian having to run at people.
They just rinse and repeat. Back in the brush they go.
All right, they're just using this vision game too good. Flandre goes for the flash play. Grand Starfall in, and Weibo for a second game in a row have been turned to dust. This team is nowhere near contesting the top 4, and AL makes sure they know that time and time again. Another ace, another game, and AL destroy Weibo.
And importantly for those standings, it does just create that buffer. It gives AL a little bit of a breather. And unfortunately for Weibo, it means that they are most likely going to be going down into that play-ins play-through. They're going to have to take a game up against one of our Nirvana teams. It's not decided by any means, but this window now, the 2-game buffer that AL have got, really is going to give them such a big amount of confidence moving into the remainder of this season. Now, they've still got to dot the I's and cross the T's. We'll have a look at this replay. And it's really simple stuff, honestly, from AL. They're sat on a pink board. They're using engage tools. And the second that Weibo go in, they kill them.
The carries from Weibo are on the other side of terrain from the frontliners. Of like that, the positioning just got completely cut in half.
Yeah. This is the same thing that we saw from them earlier on. We saw them lose out, you know, in a bad position around that dragon for this exact thing, around the top side, excuse me, for this exact reason. And you know, it's that inability to learn from the mistakes. Where, okay, if Victor Sivir are walking in on a different angle, we need to walk with them.
Yeah, and you think about it here, right? If Weibo lose this series, they fall to 4 and 6. We have 4 series left for both these two teams. They would need to win 3 out of those 4, and the competition is not nearly as easy as it was last split, right? To even end positive, and I know that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things of the standings, right? But going positive, I feel like means a lot to me. And this Weibo team with all this experience definitely doesn't want to have those lackluster performances, but they are okay with it. They ended 7th last regular season, still tried to make a run, but AL are ending their run right now, at least in this series, as Kael just keeps tanking up now. Magnet Storm coming in as well from Chris. They get one back. Chris might be able to kill Hope in the end too, try to get a shutdown. No, Chris, he's losing to a Hope that has like less than 50 health there. He ends up dying to the minions, I believe, and Grand Starfall's coming in. This is AL just playing with their food. It's like a kid with some corn. He's just throwing it at the walls and see what happens when it does, as AL just look to close out game number 2 and this series.
Very clean performance from AL in the back half here. 12,000 gold lead. Baron at their backs. This is the series done.
Done and dusted, as all the casters love to say, as Weibo did not show up on the day, and AL 2-0 will make that buffer, as you said, in the standings. And I know AL is going to feel really confident against that 5-win streak now for this team that has turned it up in the second round robin. Yeah,
and I mean, I want to highlight the fact that this isn't just AL stomping on a team that were just significantly weaker than them. Weibo beat AL last time these two teams played. AL also just beat BLG in a Colossus series that is going to have inspired confidence in them as well. This is an AL competition to go and win. I really think, and I'm fully back on board, that this is a team that is going to be challenging not just for world spots, but for, you know, semis at worlds. For the title here in Split 3, like they need to be challenging for that and putting the LPL back on the map.
And I'm just going to say right now, stop giving AL that like Rumble, Wukong kind of setup jungle comp that they keep getting in game number 1s, that they keep finding success on. Like, I know there's so many bans and things like that, but man, it just feels like they auto-win some of those games. And a lot of the reason why we call them Game 1 Andes a lot of times, because they just had such strong Game 1 drafting. But I guess there's not much you can do against all these different picks that we have available in the meta right now. And AL seemingly find their groove among them. Again, I highlighted, I know there's sometimes some wacky drafts, but at least picks in draft, but I think consistently their drafting is back on a level that you can feel really confident about.
Yeah, and again, we looked at this draft, and I'm thinking the Senna didn't really fit too well, but what the Senna did also was pace out the Sivir really easily, right? The Sivir never got that big push post the early
lane
game.
swap,
And
man. Is it good? Yeah. Is it bad? Like, should they have just gone back into the lane? Because they were down 30 CS early.
They lost on that swap the power of the Sivir. Like, Sivir wasn't able to get push prio really ever after that. And that's what costed, you know, a lot of their mid-game priority. Meant that they couldn't push in and couldn't look for a lot of the plays that they might have looked for. I mean, I saw Tian again looking for some really good proactive plays through the early to mid-game, even despite the Sivir disadvantage. Unfortunately, not quite enough. And, you know, for Weibo, it's a disappointing loss. For AL, it's a simple run-of-the-mill win.
Yep, it is indeed a run-of-the-mill win on their big streak here. A team that did end up winning the split for the first time in Org's history, just in split number 2, and trying to make a run for Worlds here in split number 3. Just crazy, you know. I'm all about the fun storylines, the narratives. You know me. I get all mushy-gushy about it. The fact that BLG last year went back-to-back, but it was also the first time the organization had ever gotten a championship, and they got 2 in that 1 year, obviously. How cool would it be if the next year AL also do the same thing, back-to-back their first organizational championship? I've just, you know, that's just me. But, hey, this team, they seemingly are starting to get back up to speed.
And I mean, like I say, this is... again, they took down BLG like a couple of days ago. They've just destroyed Weibo in 2 quick games. This for me is an organization that's back and that's ready to try and party, and that should be looking to take those big ticket wins. We called it the hangover for a reason, and you know, they're back to their winning ways of taking down their opponents and, you know, large rivals for this second half of the year in BLG. And you know, you can get to see here some of the highlights of this game in particular. So
I gotta ask you then, if you had your perfect hangover cure of a breakfast, what would it be, and what are we feeding to AL?
I mean, it looked like just a couple of series versus WE and FPX, and then we're good to go, right? Like,
I thought it was eggs and bacon, but you know, I'm different.
maybe. If WE hadn't have, you know, or if WE or FPX had have taken a series versus AL, then maybe we can be talking about something differently. But they didn't need the eggs nor bacon. They just needed some noobs to stomp.
Some good hard League of Legends. That's what they needed. It's like black coffee in the morning.
That's like, you think Tarbe's sitting there going, oh no, don't worry guys, you can have the dream breakfast. We're 0-4, we're 0-3 in the split. No, he's making them play more hours of solo queue.
True. That's the good breakfast that any professional player needs in the LPL. We take a look back. It was clinical across both games, honestly, but really just good play direction from anyone's legend. Starting off with clean ganks, but also the fights in the end. It wasn't the same performance in game number 1, but it was still clean nonetheless.
Again, both of these plays that we're seeing, the first couple of highlights are Tarzan making those cross-map plays using the semi-global from the Pantheon. And then this unfortunate series of team fights after the fact where Flandre is able to get access to Xiaohu and Light is honestly a disaster. Like, there's no way that this should really ever happen in a team fight. And even here, where he's not quite able to take one down, but look at how much time he buys. Look at how much distraction there is and how much it is that Flandre gives over to the team.
Yeah, that's the tough part, man. I feel for Light. I mean, he was like unbelievably quiet today for a guy that usually is pretty outspoken. It feels like in games for Weibo, especially if they can make it to late game team fighting. But that's 2 games in a row he was just like getting flashed on by Flandre and completely 100-0'd, and a lot of times kind of left out hanging by the rest of the team. So definitely shout outs to Weibo trying to figure out what works for them moving forward. Again, the competition doesn't get any easier in a lot of ways. We've cut the extra fat off of Group Ascend in a majority of ways, and I think these next 4 series are really going to be a testament to that grit that we're kind of highlighting and looking forward to for Weibo.
Yeah, and I mean, they've got a lot to review. They've got a good amount to go back on. They've got a doubleheader versus JDG to close out their season.
Just insane, man.
I mean, those 2 series are going to be incredibly important in terms of placement.
It's half of their remaining games.
Yeah, or against one team. And it's going to be important to see really how they can develop from this. Like, looking back at their previous series, looking back at this series as well. What is it that we can improve on? Well, those lane swaps, first of all, need to be checked. We need to see what happened in that early game to leave Light so abandoned, to really give up everything that we had in terms of a pushing lane.
Yeah, that's going to be something they go to the drawing board for sure. But as we wrap up the highlights here, we got to start thinking about that MVP candidate for game number 2. I think a lot of choices on the table. I don't think, you know, I'm not going to say that Kael immediately gets it. I think there were some really good moments there. I think there's a lot of room to say that Tarzan.
Side, to be honest. Yeah,
okay,
Tarzan or Flandre for me. I mean, Flandre, like, he did have that death where he gets owned, but I think in the team fights, he was doing a lot of the heavy lifting, taking down those high priority targets. You know, it's about whether or not you value the strength in the late game or the strength in the early game. Like, Tarzan got Flandre to that point by some good setup. And then Flandre paid it back in the team fights where he's able to flash on top of Light, kill Xiaohu, and, you know, make the Weibo composition pretty neutralized.
And it is. Are we happy that Renekton is coming back into favor here?
Yeah,
are we happy about
this? Yeah, I really am. I think that his playmaking, like the identity of top laners has been slightly shaped or scaffolded away from a top laner who can just one-shot the enemy AD carry, and I'm a fan of the fact that it's back.
All right, I'm here for it. Although all ADCs just felt a shiver down their spines for sure. Deservedly so, though. Flandre will get MVP for that second game. Kael got the first one. AL sweep Weibo Gaming 2-0, and my 6-game day dream is dead. That does mean, though, that we're separating off and getting ready for our second series here. It's going to be an absolute gigabanger. The only time we'll see this matchup left until late in the playoffs, I'm sure. The 2 top titans of the LPL go to war right after this. BLG versus Top Esports.